Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Wheel of Shakespeare Challenge, our last round for the month of March. I'm here with Brandon, Elizabeth, Maggie, and John to do impromptu performances of the works of Shakespeare for you guys. So, based on the randomly chosen order in advance, we have John will perform first, and then Elizabeth after him. Let's get the wheel up here. We'll spin for John. Here we go. Okay, so John is going to perform. What happened here? There we go. Okay, there we go. I had trouble with the layout. The Player King, the Purist monologue. This one, I've set it up so it's remember Hamlet starts to say it, and then Polonius interrupt that, then the um, and then and then the Player King continues it before he's interrupted by the player. When this is spun, I always say do the whole thing basically that tells the whole story. Start with a part of it that Hamlet's speaking, then just skip over the interruptions and go to when uh, when the Player King takes over in both parts of it, before and after Polonius. And oh, gee, looks like we just lost John. Okay, I'll mark down that if he makes it back into the room, I'll mark it down so that he can we can get back to him. But that means it's Elizabeth's turn since. Okay, we'll spin for Elizabeth. Okay, Elizabeth's going to do. Oh, looks like we just got John back. Antony in Julius Caesar begins with "Oh, pardon me."
Oh boy. Okay.
You got that one?
Yeah. Can you see and hear me?
Yeah, I can see you. So whenever you're ready.
Okay. Oh, pardon me, thou bleeding piece of earth, that I am meek and gentle with these butchers. Thou art the ruins of the noblest man that ever lived in the tide of times. Woe to the hand that shed this costly blood. Over thy wounds now do I prophesy, which like dumb mouths do ope their ruby lips to beg the voice and utterance of my tongue. A curse shall light upon the limbs of men. Domestic fury and fierce civil strife shall cumber all the parts of Italy. Blood and destruction shall be so in use, and dreadful objects so familiar, that mothers shall but smile when they behold their infants quartered with the hands of war, all pity choked with custom of fell deeds, and Caesar's spirit, ranging for revenge, with Ate by his side, come hot from hell, shall in these confines with a monarch's voice cry havoc, and let slip the dogs of war, that this foul deed shall smell above the earth with carrion men groaning for burial.
Wow, that's awesome. Love that
Morning.
one. Okay, John, we lost you when it was your turn. Are you ready to go now?
Well, yeah, I hope.
Okay, so that was the Player King, the Purist monologue. Let me put the banner for you. I know that's part of Act 2, Scene 2 of Hamlet, which is the longest in Shakespeare, so it might be hard. Have you found your place? You're ready to go?
Oh, no, I didn't even see it. Until just a second. But
Oh,
let me
okay. We if you need some time, we can come back to you.
um
Or are you good?
I think I can
Okay.
let me see here.
The rugged purist. I mean, I always say when somebody spins this, I say do the whole story rather than because Hamlet starts to say it, then the player king continues. They get interrupted by Polonius, and
Oh, okay, it's Act 2, Scene 2.
yeah,
Oh, okay, of Hamlet. Act 2, uh, Scene 2. And it starts with, please?
I believe it starts with the rugged purist.
Oh, this is the rather long scene.
Yeah,
Let's see, I'm getting down here to it. Polonius and Hamlet. First player. And say it once again now, please, what the first line is.
I believe the rugged purist, like a Hyrcanian tiger.
Okay. Okay, I don't see it. Do you
Okay, then
Anani?
go ahead and keep looking while we spin for Maggie, and we can come back to you. Okay, so it's Maggie's turn. Ann's on deck. Okay, so let's spin for you, Maggie. You'll do. Imaging. I see a man's life. The Cymbeline Act 3, Scene 6.
Okay, give me a second before you leave. Cymbeline Act, opening the text. Act
I
3,
believe
Scene 6.
I believe that's the very beginning of the scene.
Oh, yes, it is. Okay, I've got it. Thank you.
Okay, so whenever you're ready.
All right. I see a man's life is a tedious one. I have tired myself, and for 2 nights together have made the ground my bed. I should be sick, but that my resolution helps me. Milford, when from the mountain top Pisanio showed thee, thou wast within a ken. Oh, Jove! I think foundations fly the wretched. Such, I mean, where they should be relieved. 2 beggars told me I could not miss my way. Will poor folks lie that have afflictions on them, knowing 'tis a punishment or trial? Yes, no wonder when rich ones scarce tell true. To lapse in fullness is sorer than to lie in need, and falsehood is worse in kings than beggars. My dear Lord, thou art one of the false ones. Now I think on thee, my hunger's gone, but even before I was at point to sink for food. But what is this? Here's a path to it. 'Tis some savage hold. I were best not to call. I dare not call, yet, oh, famine! Ere clean it o'erthrow nature, makes it valiant. Plenty and peace breeds cowards. Hardness, ever of hardiness, is mother. Oh, who's there? If anything that's civil, speak. If savage, take or lend. Oh, no answer? Then I'll enter. Best draw my sword, and if mine enemy but fear the sword like me, he'll scarcely look on't. Such a foe! Good heavens! Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Very nice. So let's see if John has found. Um, John, have you found your starting point?
I have not. What is the first line, please, again?
I believe the rugged Pyrrhus.
And this is the first player?
Well, it's actually I think Hamlet starts that, uh, and then and it says you continue to the first player, the player, and he continues that. So you can skip where they're talking to each other, but just like continuing the narrative. Or if you feel comfortable, you can skip right to where the to where the player king takes. So I think, which I think is anon he finds him striking too short at Greeks.
Oh, 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 okay.
That's where the player king takes.
All right.
So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Let me do
what,
that.
so you can start with when Hamlet does it and then tells the player king to pick it up, or you can do it just from when the player king starts, whatever's more comfortable for you. So whenever you're
The
ready,
first,
go.
yeah, okay. Anon he finds him striking too short at Greeks. His antique sword, rebellious to his arm, lies where it falls, repugnant to command, unequal matched. Pyrrhus at Priam drives, in rage strikes wide, but with a whiff and the wind of his fell sword, the unnerved father falls. Then senseless Ilium, seeming to feel this blow, with flaming top stoops to his base, and with a hideous crash takes prisoner Pyrrhus' ear, for lo, his sword, which was declining on the milky head of Reverend Priam, seemed in the air to stick. So, as a painted tyrant Pyrrhus stood, and like a neutral to his will and matter, did nothing. But, as we often see, against some storm, a silence in the heavens, the rack stands still, the bold wind speechless, and the orb below as hush as death. Anon, the dreadful thunder doth rend the region. So, after Pyrrhus' pause, aroused vengeance sets him new a work, and never did the Cyclops' hammers fall on Mars' armor forged for proof be turned, with less remorse than Pyrrhus' bleeding sword now falls on Priam. Out, out, thou strumpet fortune. All you gods in general synod, take away her power. Break all the spokes and fellies from her wheel, and bow the wind knave down the hill of heaven as low as to the fiends. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. So it's Brandon's turn now, and then myself, and then we'll spin for scenes. Okay, Brandon is what you do. Edmund, round 8 shot, my goddess. King Lear, scene 2, I believe, the beginning of the scene. Edmund, I'll just say Edmund the bastard. Okay, so whenever you're ready. I'm Brand, you're muted. You need to unmute your you need to unmute yourself and start again. I can't. I'm trying to. You have to unmute yourself. I can't do it.
Okay,
Okay, there you go.
sorry.
Okay, so whenever you're ready for Edmund's monologue,
Thou archer, thou nature art my goddess. To thy law my services are bound. Wherefore should I stand in the plague of custom and permit the curiosity of nations to deprive me? For that I am some 12 or 14 moonshines leg of a brother. Why bastard? Wherefore base? When my dimensions are as well compact, my mind is generous, and my shape is true, and honest madam's issue. Why brand they us with base? With baseness? Bastard. Base? Base? Who in the lusty stealth of nature take more compositions and fierce quality than doth within a dull, stale, tired bed go to the creating a whole tribe of fops? Go tween sleep and wake. Well then, legitimate Edgar, I must have your land. Our father's love is to the bastard Edmund and to the legitimate, fine word, legitimate. Well, my legitimate, if this letter speed, and my invitation thrive, Edmund the base shall top the legitimate. I grow, I prosper. Now God stand up for bastards.
hey, awesome. Elizabeth was saying monologue envy. I think that is a great monologue. I mean, I think we all envy getting a good one like that. Okay, so I'm last. I'll do my monologue, and then we'll spin for things. My monologue is going to be. Sorry in the chat. Okay, here. Doubtful it stood, as two spent swimmers that do cling together and choke their art. The merciless MacDonald, worthy to be a rebel, for to that the multiplying villainies of nature do swarm upon him. From the western isles of kerns and gallow glasses is supplied, and fortune on this damned quarrel smiling showed like a rebel's whore. But all's too weak, for brave Macbeth, well he deserves that name, disdaining fortune with his brandished shield, which smoked with bloody execution, like valor's minion carved out his passage, till he faced the slave which ne'er shook hands nor bade farewell to him, till he unseamed him from the nave to the chops, and fixed his head upon our battlements. Whence the sun gins his reflection, shipwrecking storms and direful thunders break. So from that spring whence comforts seem to come, discomfort swells. Mark, King of Scotland, mark. No sooner justice had with valor armed compelled these skipping kings to trust their hails, but the Norwegian lords, surveying vantage, with furbished arms and new supplies of men, began a fresh assault. As sparrows eagles, or the hare the lion, If I say sooth, I must report they were as cannons overcharged with double cracks. So they doubly redoubled strokes upon the foe. Except they meant to bathe in reeking wounds or memorize another Golgotha, I cannot tell. But I am faint. My gashes cry for help. I've never done that one before. Enjoy. So it's time to spin for scenes. Let's see what we've got for the five of us to do this time. Okay, switch from the monologue wheel to the scene wheel. Okay, first we have All's Well That Ends Well. That's with Parolles and Helena. Othello. Okay, that's perfect. We got, so one of them is a 3-person scene, and we got 5 players. So it's Rodrigo. I think that would be all. I think that's practically the whole first scene, because it starts with Rodrigo and Iago, and then they go visit Barbancio. So, oh God, and I get the first choice, so this is going to be tough. I got to take Iago. So I'll take Iago, and the other roles are Barbancio, Rodrigo, Parolles, and Helena. Brannon gets the next. Oh, Henry just joined us. So let's let's spin for another scene that we can get him in, and then we can. Okay, Henry the Sixth. This is when Richard, soon to be King Richard, 6.3, Act 5, Scene 6, Gloucester and the King, where he goes to assassinate him in prison. So that's why we have this way. We have 7 roles, and there's 6 of us. I'll find a way to assign the maybe we'll spin for it for who is going to go a second time to be the partner. So I took Iago in the Iago, Rodrigo, and Barbancio scene. There's also Parolles and Helena in the first scene of All's Well That Ends Well, and there's Richard, Duke of Gloucester, and King Henry in that scene toward the end of the Henry VI trilogy. Okay, Brannon, what would you like? You're muted again.
I'll take Richard.
Okay, so you'll take Richard.
Yeah. 6.
Henry, Henry, what would you like?
Can you just tell me what the roles are?
There's so Brandon's doing Richard in the scene at the end of the Henry VI trilogy, where he comes to murder King Henry in his cell. So the king is still open. I'm doing Iago in the opening scene of Othello. There's also Rodrigo and Barbancio, and then there's Parolles and Helena in the first scene of All's Well That Ends Well.
Oh. Can I do Helena?
Okay. Helena. Maggie, Maggie, what would you like?
I think I'll take Paroles.
Maggie will go Paroles. Okay, so we'll start with Maggie and Henry then, so we still have a few more unassigned roles. Elizabeth, what would you like?
Rodrigo.
Elizabeth's going to take Rodrigo. And finally, John. So the options we have left for you, we have Barbancio in the Othello scene, and we have King Henry in the scene at the end of the Henry VI trilogy when Richard comes to murder him in his cell.
Brabantio.
Okay, so John's going to take Barbancio. Why don't we spin to see who's going to be the person that's going to go a second time in the scene with Brannon. Give me a second here. Okay, so the last role will be assigned by the wheel here. Let's see who's going to perform in the last scene with Brannon. It will be me. So I'll be in it. So we're going to start with. Okay, so we're starting with Maggie and Henry doing Parolles and Helena, and then we're going to do myself, Elizabeth, and John in the opening scene of Othello, and then Brannon and myself will do the murder of King Henry in his cell in Act 5, Scene 6 of Part 3 of Henry VI. So let's see, we have Maggie and Henry.
You have us both on screen, or do you want the monologue first? What? Yeah.
I forget whose monologue does it start with?
Well, it's a long monologue with Helena, and then the two of them come together. So.
Okay, so and Henry's doing.
I didn't know if you want to stick with the two of us interacting or not.
It's up to you. What would you like?
Well, I'm not Helena, so.
Yeah, if Henry wants to do that, that's fine. I'll take. Do you want to start with a monologue, Henry?
Yeah. Somehow I've lost. Oh, I see. Sorry, I lost the screen for a moment. Won't be a moment. Oh, were that all? I think not on my father. And these great tears grace his remembrance more than those I shed for him. What was he like? I have forgot him. My imagination carries no favour in it but Bertram's. I am undone. There is no living, none, if Bertram be away. 'Twere all one that I should love a bright particular star and think to wed it. He is so above me, In his bright radiance and collateral light must I be comforted, not in his sphere. The ambition of my love thus plagues itself. The hind that would be mated by the lion must die for love. 'Twas pretty, though plague, to see him every hour, to sit and draw his arched brows, his hawking eye, his curls in our heart's table, heart too capable of every line and trick of his sweet favour. But now he's gone, and my idolatrous fantasy must sanctify his relics. Who comes here? Ah, one that goes with him. I love him for his sake, and yet I know him to be a notorious liar, think him a great way fool, solely a coward. Yet these fixed evils sit so fit in him that they take place when virtue's steely bones look bleak i' the cold wind. Withal, full oft we see cold wisdom waiting on superfluous folly.
Save you, fair queen.
And you, monarch,
No.
and no.
Are you meditating on virginity?
Aye, you have some stain of soldier in you. Let me ask you a question. Man is enemy to virginity. How may we barricado it against him?
Keep him out.
But he assails, and our virginity, though valiant in the defence, yet is weak. Unfold to us some warlike resistance.
There is none. Man, sitting down before you, will undermine you and blow you up.
Bless our poor virginity from underminers and blowers up. Is there no military policy how virgins might blow up men?
Virginity being blown down, man will quicklier he blown up. Marry, in blowing him down again with the breach yourselves made, you lose your city. It is not politic in the commonwealth of nature to preserve virginity. Loss of virginity is rational increase, and there was never virgin got till virginity was first lost. That you were made of metal to make virgins. Virginity being once lost may be 10 times found. By being ever kept, it is ever lost. 'Tis too cold a companion. Away with it.
I will stand for it a little, though therefore I die a virgin.
There is little can be said in it. 'Tis against the rule of nature. To speak on the part of virginity is to accuse your mothers, which is most infallible disobedience. He that hangs himself is a virgin. Virginity murders itself and should be buried in highways all out of sanctified limit as a desperate offendress against nature. Virginity breeds mites, much like a cheese, consumes itself to the very paring, and so dies with feeding his own stomach. Besides, virginity is peevish, proud, idle, made of self-love, which is the most inhibited sin in the canon. Keep it not. You cannot choose but loose by't. Out with it. Within 10 years it will make itself 10, which is a goodly increase, and the principle itself not much the worse. Away with it.
How might one do, sir, to lose it to her own liking?
Well, let me see. Marry ill, to like him that ne'er it likes. 'Tis a commodity will lose the gloss with the lying. The longer kept, the less worth. Off with it while 'tis vendible. Answer the time of request. Virginity, like an old courtier, wears her cap out of fashion, richly suited but unsuitable, just like the brooch and the toothpick, which wear not now. Your date is better in your pie and your porridge than in your cheek, and your virginity, your old virginity, is like one of our French withered pears. It looks ill, it eats dryly. Marry, 'tis a withered pear. It was formerly better. Marry, yet 'tis a withered pear. Will you anything with it?
Not my virginity yet. There shall your master have 1,000 loves, a mother and a mistress and a friend, a phoenix captain and an enemy, a guide, a goddess and a sovereign, a counselor, a traitress and a dear. His humble ambition, proud humility, his jarring concord and his discord dulcet, his faith, his sweet disaster, with a world of pretty fond adoptious Christendoms that blinking Cupid gossips. Now shall he, I know not what he shall. God send him well. The court is learning place, and he is one
What one, in faith?
that I wish well. 'Tis pity
What's pity?
that wishing well had not a body in it, which might be felt. That we, the poorer born, whose baser stars do shut us up in wishes, might with effects of them follow our friends, and show what we alone must think, which never return us thanks.
Won't you keep going, Henry?
Yeah.
Oh, little Helen, farewell. If I can remember thee, I will think of thee at court.
Monsieur Parolles, you were born under a charitable star.
Under Mars, I
especially think under Mars.
Why under Mars?
The wars have kept you under that. You must needs be born under Mars.
When he was predominant.
When he was retrograde, I think, rather.
Why think you so?
You go so much backward when you fight.
That's for advantage.
So is running away when fear proposes to safety. But the composition that your valor and fear makes in you is a virtue of a good ring, and I like the wear well.
I am so full of busyness, I cannot answer thee acutely. I will return perfect courtier, in the which my instruction shall serve to naturalize thee, so thou wilt be capable of a courtier's counsel, and understand what advice shall thrust upon thee. Else thou diest in thine unthankfulness, and thine ignorance makes thee away. Farewell. When thou hast leisure, say thy prayers. When thou hast none, remember thy friends. Get thee a good husband, and use him as he uses thee. And so, farewell.
Our remedies oft in ourselves do lie, which we ascribe to heaven. The fated sky gives us free scope, only doth backward pull our slow designs when we ourselves are dull. What power is it which mounts my love so high, that makes me see, that cannot feed mine eye? The mightiest space in fortune nature brings to join like likes and kiss like native things. Impossible be strange attempts to those that weigh their pains in sense, and do suppose what hath been cannot be. Whoever strove so show her merit, that did miss her love. The king's disease my project may deceive me, but my intents are fixed, and will not leave me. End of scene.
Okay, very nice, you guys. So now it's myself, Elizabeth, and John doing the opening scene of Elizabeth. Are you still with us? Of Othello. Might have to come back to that. Okay, I guess we'll do that. Looks like she stepped out for a second. Maybe we can come back to that one. We're going to do this scene. Then we have King Henry VI and Duke of Gloucester, and then we're going to come. Oh, we lost Elizabeth completely. We'll figure out what we're going to do with that scene later on. But let's go on to the myself and Brannon do the murder of Henry VI in his cell. I think that's the whole scene. Act 5, Scene 6. You've got, you know where to start.
Yeah. Good day, my lord. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Okay.
Day, my lord, why did your book so hard?
Ay, my good lord. My lord, I should say, rather, 'tis sin to flatter. Good was little better. Good Gloucester and good devil were alike, and both preposterous, therefore not, good lord.
Sirrah, leave us to ourselves. We must confer.
So flies the reckless shepherd from the wolf. So first the harmless sheep doth yield his fleece, and next his throat unto the butcher's knife. What scene of death hath Roscius now to act?
Oh, suspicion always haunts the guilty mind. The thief doth fear each bush and officer.
The bird that hath been limed in a bush, with trembling wings misdoubteth every bush. And I, the hapless male to one sweet bird, have now the fatal object in my eye. Where my poor young was limed, was caught and killed.
What a peevish fool was that of Crete, that taught his son the office of a fowl, and yet for all his wings the fool was drowned.
I, Daedalus, my poor boy Icarus, thy father Minos that denied our course, the sun that seared the wings of my sweet boy, thy brother Edward, and thyself the sea, whose envious gulf did swallow up his life. Kill me with thy weapon, not with words. My breast can better brook thy dagger's point than can my ears that tragic history. But wherefore dost thou come? Is it for my life?
Thou thinkest thou I'm an executioner?
A persecutor, I am sure thou art. If murdering innocents be executing, why then thou art an executioner.
Thy son I killed for his presumption.
Hadst thou been killed when first thou didst presume, thou hadst not lived to kill a son of mine. And thus I prophesy that many a thousand which now mistrust no parcel of my fear, and many an old man's sigh, and many a widow's, and many an orphan's water-standing eye, men for their sons, wives for their husbands, and orphans for their parents' timeless death, shall rue the hour that ever thou wast born. The owl shrieked at thy birth, an evil sign. The night crow cried, a boding luckless time. Dogs howled, and hideous tempest shook down trees. The raven rooked her on the chimney top, and shattering pies in dismal discord sung. Thy mother felt more than a mother's pain, and yet brought forth less than a mother's hope. To wit, an indigested and deformed lump, not like the fruit of such a goodly tree. Teeth hadst thou in thy head when thou wast born, to signify thou camest to bite the world. And if the rest be true, which I have heard, thou camest.
I'll hear no more. Die, prophet, in thy speech. For this amongst rest was I ordained.
Aye, and for much more slaughter after this. God forgive my sins and pardon me.
What will the aspiring blood of Lancaster sink in the ground? I thought it would be mounted. See how my sword weeps for the poor king's death. Oh, may such purple tears be always shed from those that wish the downfall of our house. If any spark of life yet be remaining, down to hell, and say, I sent thee thither. I that have neither pity, love, nor fear. Indeed, 'tis true that Henry told me of, for I have often heard my mother say I came into the world with my legs forward. Had I not reason, think you, to make haste? And yet their ruin that up usurped our right, The midwife wondered, and the women cried, "Oh, Jesu, bless us! He is born with teeth!" And so I was, which plainly signified that I should snarl and bite and play the dog. Since the heavens have shaped my body so, let hell make crooked my mind to answer it. I have no brother. I am like no brother. And this word love, which graybeards call divine, be resident in men like one another, and not in me. I am myself alone, Clarence. Beware, thou keepest me from the light. But I will sort a pitchy day for thee, for I will buzz abroad such prophecies that Edward shall be fearful of his life, and then to purge his fear, I'll be thy death. King Henry and the prince his son are gone. Clarence, thy true is next, and then the rest. Counting myself but bad till I be best, I'll throw the body in another room and triumph here in thy day of doom. Scene.
Okay, thanks. Okay, looks like we did get Elizabeth back. We're glad she made it back, so we can do the Iago, Rodrigo, and Barbancio one. And John, you're Barbancio, but he's not in the scene at the beginning. You know where we are and everything, so that you'll be ready when we
Yeah.
get. I'll add
Yeah.
you to the scene at that point. Okay, let me put the scene up. I'll take you out. I'll put you in when we come to Barbancio's door. Okay, so you ready, Elizabeth?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Tush! Never tell me. I take it much unkindly that thou, Iago, who hast my purse as if the strings were thine, shouldst know of this.
Blood, but you will not hear me. If ever I did dream of such a matter, abhor me.
Thou toldst me thou didst hold him in thy hate.
Despise me if I do not. 3 great ones of the city in personal suit to make me his lieutenant, off cap to him, and by the faith of man I know my price. I am worth no worse a place. But he, as loving his own pride and purposes, evades them with a bombast circumstances, horribly stuffed with epithets of war. And in conclusion, non-suits my mediators. For certes, says he, I have already chose my officer. And what was he? Forsooth, a great arithmetician, one Michael Cassio, a Florentine, a fellow almost damned in a fair wife, that never set a squadron in the field, nor the division of a battle knows, more than a spinster, unless the bookish theoric wherein the togaed consuls can propose as masterly as he. Mere prattle without practice is all his soldiership. But he, sir, had the election, and I, of whom his eyes had seen the proof at Rhodes, at Cyprus, and on other grounds, Christian and heathen, must be belied and calmed by debitor and creditor. This countercaster, he in good time must his lieutenant be, and I, God bless the mark, his moorship's ancient.
By heaven, I rather would have been his hangman.
Aye, there's no remedy. 'Tis the curse of service. Preferment goes by letter and affection, and not by old gradation, where each second stood heir to the first. Now, sir, be judge yourself whether I, in any just term, am affined to love the more.
I would not follow him then.
Oh, sir, content you. I follow him to serve my turn upon him. We cannot all be masters, nor all masters cannot be truly followed. You shall mark many a duteous and knee-crooking knave that, doting on his own obsequious bondage, wears out his time much like his master's ass. For naught but provender, and when he's old, cashiered, whip me such honest knaves. Others there are, who, trimmed in forms and visages of duty, keep yet their hearts attending on themselves, and throwing but shows of service on their lords, do well thrive by them, and when they have lined their coats, do themselves homage. These fellows have some soul, and such a one do I profess myself. For, sir, It is as sure as you are Rodrigo. Were I the Moor, I would not be Iago. In following him, I follow but myself. Heaven is my judge, not I for love and duty, but seeming so for my peculiar end. For when my outward action doth demonstrate the native act and figure of my heart, in compliment extern, 'tis not long after, but I will wear my heart upon my sleeve, for daws to peck at. I am not what I am.
What a full fortune does the thick lips owe, if he can carry thus.
Call up her father, rouse him, make after him, poison his delight, proclaim him in the streets, incense her kinsmen, and through he in a fertile climate dwell, plague him with flies, though that his joy be joy, yet throw such changes of vexation on't, as it may lose some color.
Here is her father's house. I'll call aloud.
Do with like a timorous accent and dire yell, as when by night in negligence the fire is spied in populous cities.
What ho! Brabantio, Signor Brabantio, ho!
Awake! What ho, Barbantio! Thieves, thieves, thieves! Look to your house, your daughter and your bags. Thieves, thieves!
What is the reason of this terrible summons? What is the matter there?
Signor, is all your family within?
Are your doors locked?
Why? Wherefore ask you this?
Zounds, sir, you're robbed. For shame, put on your gown. Your heart is burst. You have lost half your soul. Even now, very now, an old black ram is topping your white ewe. Arise, arise, awake the snorting citizens with the bell, or else the devil will make a grandsire of you. Arise, I say.
What? Have you lost your wits?
Most Reverend Senior, do you know my voice?
Not I, what are you?
My name is Rodrigo.
The worse are welcome. I have charged thee not to haunt my doors. In honest plainness thou hast heard me say, my daughter is not for thee. And now in madness, being full of supper and distembering draughts upon malicious bravery, thou dost come to start my quiet.
Sir.
But thou must needs be sure my spirit and my place have in them power to make this bitter to thee.
Patience, good sir.
What tell'st thou me of robbing? This is Venice, my house is not a grange.
Most grave Barbantio, in simple and pure soul, I come to you.
Zounds, sir, you are one of those that will not serve God if the devil bid you, because we come to do you service, and you think we are ruffians. You'll have your daughter covered with a Barbary horse. You'll have your nephews neigh to you. You'll have coursers for cousins and jennets for Germans.
What profane wretch art thou?
I am one, sir, that comes to tell you your daughter and the Moor are now making the beast with two backs.
Thou art a villain.
You are a senator.
This thou shalt answer. I know thee, Rodrigo.
Sir, I will answer anything, but I beseech you, if it be your pleasure and most wise consent, as partly I find it is, that your fair daughter, at this odd, even, and dull watch of the night, transported with no worse nor better guard, but with a knave of common hire, a gondolier, to the gross clasps of a lascivious Moor, if this be known to you, and your allowance, we then have done you bold and saucy wrongs. But if you know not this, my manners tell me we have your wrong rebuke. Do not believe that from the sense of all civility I thus would play and trifle with your reverence. Your daughter, if you have not given her leave, I say again, hath made a gross revolt, tying her duty, beauty, wit, and fortunes in an extravagant and wheeling stranger of here and everywhere. Straight satisfy yourself. If she be in her chamber of your house, let loose on me the justice of the state for thus deluding you.
Strike on the tinder, ho! Give me a taper. Call up my people. This accident is not unlike my dream. Belief of it oppresses me already. Light, I say, light!
Farewell, for I must leave you. It seems not meet nor wholesome to my place to be produced, as if I stay I shall, against the Moor. For I do know the state, however this may gall him with some check, cannot with safety cast him, for he's embarked with such loud reason to the Cyprus wars, which even now stand in act, that for their souls another of his fathom they have none to lead their business. In which regard, though I do hate him as I do hell pains, yet for necessity of present life, I must show out a flag and sign of love, which is indeed but a sign, that you shall surely find him, lead the Sagittary the raised search, and there will I be with him. So farewell. Okay. Thank you. It's great. So let's come back to Henry. We missed his monologue because he came late. So let's go ahead and we'll let him do his monologue, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, so Henry's monologue is going to be the Trailus and Cressida prologue.
Trailus and Cressida.
Okay, so whenever you're ready, go ahead.
In Troy, the lies the scene. Sorry, let's start again. In Troy, there lies the scene. From isles of Greece, the princes Augulus, their high blood chafed, have to the port of Athens sent their ships fraught with the ministers and instruments of cruel war. 69 that wore their crownets regal from the Athenian bay put forth toward Phrygia, and their vow is made to ransack Troy, within whose strong immures the ravished Helen, Menelaus' queen, with wanton Paris sleeps. And that's the quarrel. To Tenedos they come, and the deep-drawing barks do there disgorge their warlike fraughtage. Now on Dardan plains the fresh and yet unbruised Greeks do pitch their brave pavilions. Priam's six-gated city, Dardan and Timbera, Helios, Chetus, Trolan, and Antioedes, with massy staples and correspondence and fulfilling bolts, spare up the sons of Troy. Now expectation tickling skittish spirits on one and other side, Trojan and Greek sets all on hazard. And hither am I come, a prologue, armed, but not in confidence of author's pen or actor's voice, but suited in like conditions as our argument, to tell you, fair beholders, that our play leaps o'er the vaunt and firstlings of those broils, beginning in the middle, starting thence away to what may be digested in a play. Like or find fault, do as your pleasures are. Now good or bad, 'tis but the chance of war.
Okay, great job, Henry, and great job everybody today. Thank you all for joining us, and look forward to seeing you all same time next week for the Wheel of Shakespeare Challenge. Take care. See you then, everybody.